lots of conversations in our Slack. To all of you who are joining just now, you can see the Slack link in the lower right corner of the screen. Join the conversation. We are going to be demoing the deployment of Agentic SDRs.
Yeah, absolutely. And remind me, Julia, how much time do we have for Q&A?
15 minutes, easy.
All right, beautiful. Okay, so let me share my screen real quick. Can everyone see my screen? So I know that there's generally a lot of talk about AI agents, and it's very easy to get ahead of oneself and sound like you're taking crazy pills. So I just like to always kick it off with like a super quick demo, just like show don't tell. And I'll show a lead researcher and outreacher that I have here. That's a Lindy I created. Behind the scenes, that's what it looks like. It's really simple. It's like, okay, you receive a message by the lead, you research this lead on the internet, and then you draft an email. That's like really simple. The magic though is in with AI agents in general is like obviously they work at scale. And so what that means is that I can take this CSV that I have here. Let me grab it real quick. I have
Lo, we lost your sound. I'm so sorry.
Oh wow, how long have I been mute for? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. So I was saying I've got this CSV here with a bunch of unicorn founders, and I am feeding it to Lindy. And she's like, "Oh, this is 50 people. Are you sure you want me to do this?" And I'm like, "Sure." And again, this is the magic of AI agents. Is like now all these people are being researched simultaneously, and she's basically performing the equivalent of probably an hour of work at least. Like, how long would it take a rep to perform research about one lead and then send a personalized email to them? Like, 10 minutes, so this is actually 500 minutes of work. This is a full day of work here. This is 8 hours of work right here, right? And I just did it in, you just saw me, it took me like 20 seconds, right? So right here, Gather Town. I know this Gather has been making waves in the virtual office space. I really like your vision, and I saw your recent news. And here's the example I'm giving is suppose you're prospecting and you're selling your real estate, right? So like, are you looking to expand your real estate footprint? So again, this gives a taste of what AI agents are capable of, like not next year, like right now today, right? This is I think AI agents have come a lot further than people realize. With that said, I do want to spend some time today talking about what we are seeing happen basically right now ish and like over the next year. So this is what my talk is about today. Like what how do we think AI agents are going to impact go to market in 2025? And I'm going to sprinkle a bunch of demos throughout my slides here. Um, I think we're gonna stopping to talk about ICP and talk a lot more about OSP, opportunity state profile. And so the ICP is really about like, hey, who is the right person to reach out to? But I think it's not just about who, it's also about when, right? It's like the same person at different moments in time can be a lot more open to a given pitch than at any other moment. Like for example, I just use the example, and this is a real example that we have with a customer of real estate. Obviously, as a company, you only look to expand your office footprint every so often, once every 2 to 4 years, right? If we catch you at that moment, you're very open to the pitch. If we catch you any other time outside of that window, then you're very much not open to the conversation. And here again, this is the beauty of AI agents is that because they can work so fast, as we saw in the demo here, you could ask them to monitor the same lead literally every day, right? So you can take an entire base of thousands and thousands of leads, and you can have all of these agents. This would be completely impractical with humans. You would need like an army of humans. With the AI agents, it's no problem. You could be like, hey, take these 5,000 leads every single day at 9 a.m. You research them and you catch them when it's just the right time, right? And using all of these informations that are online or sometimes even private, right? Like AI agents are soon, and this is one of these things that's going to come in 2025. AI agents are going to be able to use your credentials to log into these systems and ingest private information. So that's the first thing we talk about, which is from ICP to OSP. I'm sorry, there's a lot of noise around because I'm at the airport. Julia, can you hear me? Is there a lot of background noise?
Yeah, that's why we're hosting is on Zoom
Uh,
and never
all
on
right.
any event platform.
I love it. Great. Um, the second big change, obviously, is again, because AI agents can do this kind of work at scale, you're going to go from cookie cutter outreach to hyper personalized outreach. And again, the demo I just gave here is a good illustration of that. Lindy went on the internet, found all of these founders, found news about all these founders, and then was able to say, "Hey, Confluence has had like an impressive growth trajectory. I just saw your recent coverage on LinkedIn." And so all of this outreach is becoming hyper personalized increasingly. And um, as you can see, I think what's going to be new in 2025 is not going to be the mere capability, because the capability is here. I think it's also going to be the ease of use of these systems. Today, there are solutions like a Clay, for example. Big fan of the product, but it does take a little bit of setup to set this up on Clay. You've got to set up your table and your columns and so forth. Increasingly, it's going to look just like very conversational. It's going to look like literally, hey, here's a list of people, please reach out to them in a personalized fashion. Even we are not totally there yet, but we do have prototypes of this internally where instead of setting up this workflow here, which this takes 5 minutes, it won't even take 5 minutes. It'll take 30 seconds. It's just, hey, help me reach out to people in a personalized fashion. So again, I think this combination of two factors, the from ICP to OSP and the hyper-personalized outreach, means that you're going to be able to reach out to the perfect person at the perfect time in the perfect way. And again, we're all starting to see that right now, where like response rates go up literally 2 to 3x, and win rates literally go up 2 to 3x. We have one customer which win rate went from 20% to 55% closed won rate, because of all of these factors of hyper qualification of the leads, of reaching out to the perfect person at the perfect time. Now, when I'm here, the question I get every time is, what will we even need humans for at this point? And the answer is selling. And I think it's important to point out that it is selling and only selling. I think any minute in the day that a human spends not selling, not on a call, building a relationship with a lead, is a minute wasted. And everything else needs to be taken out of the plate of your reps. And so I'll give concrete examples. One is obviously desk to paperwork, right? So AI agents will and currently do prep you before your calls with information about your leads, right? So this is an actual example of an email that I received. And Lindy was preparing it for the call, and she's using the context about the person. She's using her notes that she took during my meetings with this person. The last time she saw the person, she used my last emails with the person. So it's like your agents have all of this context and can prepare you, so you don't spend 5 or 10 minutes anymore to get prepared for these calls, and you hit the ground running during the calls. I'll give one more example actually that happened literally yesterday. We're currently hiring a designer, and I'm doing the reference checks for this designer right now. I'm calling people who worked with him before, and so you can see here I was able to ask during my reference call with the designer, hey, can you give me the summary of what he said were his areas for improvement and what he said people would say about him, and give me 2 or 3 questions that I can ask his references about these things. And so right here, and this happened live during the reference call, right? She gave me the answer in 10 seconds, and she was able to tell me, hey, this is what he says are his areas for improvement. This is what you can ask as follow-up questions. So again, it's basically like having an intern that has been with me on all my calls. I'll give one more example. We recently released the ability for Lindy to ingest attachments, like email attachments. And so what we did is we asked the Lindy that has been sitting on all our customer calls right here. Can you see this? We've asked Lindy that's been on all our customer calls, which customers wanted to build a workflow that involved email attachments. And right here, Lily from Teleport wanted to build a workflow to handle support email attachments. Christine, Jonathan, and she just gives us a huge list of people who've needed this. So again, it's the equivalent of having an employee who has sat on every meeting with every customer, and even sometimes internal meetings, and be able to ask them any questions about them. Obviously, AI agents update your Salesforce, your HubSpot after your calls, draft follow-up emails after your calls, write the proposals on Pendadoc or DocuSign. They generally just do everything in their power to move deals along and prevents them from falling through the cracks. As the audience knows, I assume like time is the enemy of every deal, and speeding up the deals makes a giant difference. There is a big difference between sending a proposal literally within 5 minutes of the end of the call versus 2 hours after the end of the call. That actually makes a big difference in close rates. Then obviously meeting coaching is a very big one. There is this phenomenon that's called the Bloom to Sigma problem that finds that the average students that received coaching performed 2 standard deviations better than average students. On average, they performed better than 98% of the other students, right? So you just take any student, you give them one-on-one coaching, they perform better than 98% of students. They turn into a top 2% student, right? I think one huge opportunity of AI, by the way, that's under discussed, I think in education in general, but coaching is huge, right? So now you can have a one-on-one hyper competent coach that sits with you on all your sales calls and provides you coaching after every sales call you had. And the coaching can be both universal, just like, hey, like you shouldn't, like this is a sales best practice, like don't insult like the prospect's dog or whatever. Or it can be tailored and based on like your own knowledge base. Like if you have a knowledge base about how to handle certain objections or like how to like your battle cards with competitors, those work very well. And then you can have an ongoing conversation with the coaching. This is an actual example of a coaching feedback I received a couple of months ago from my AI agent. She said, I found your explanation of Lindy too technical. And I was able to answer and ask, what did you find too technical? And she said, well, you said deterministic and context window and agent state. And I think more than the coaching, one huge benefit here that's also under discussed is it promotes accountability. And the reason for that is that it can disseminate these notes across all sorts of channels, including Slack. So every sales meeting that happens at Lindy with anyone in the company, there is this summary that is posted on Slack. So even though I'm not sitting on all the sales meetings, it takes me 5 minutes at the end of the day to just skim through these summaries, and I see exactly what was the use case that the person wanted, what questions did they have, did any issues arise on the call, and so forth. And then I can ask follow-up questions. So like this person here, you see it's funny. She asked, how do I add delays to make Lindy's responses seem more natural? So people are actually asking how to make the AI agents slower. And I can just ask like, what did we reply here? And this is the reply. And because it's happening, this conversation is happening in a public Slack channel. So the entire team knows that I have a snitch, if you will, in these sales calls that sits on the sales call and is going to report back to me. And so this promotes tremendous accountability. I just mentioned this one, disseminates insights. And so you could very well program these AI agents that every time a competitor is mentioned, every time an objection is mentioned, every time a feature request is made, a post is made in like the competitor channel or the product channel or anything like that. Again, always able to answer follow-up questions. That's all I had for today. You can learn more here at lindy.ai and happy to answer any follow-up questions.
Thank you so much, Flo. The last time I saw the Bloom to Sigma effect was in some podcast with Mark and Andreessen, so that's super impressive. Thank you. We have questions from Anna. She's asking, does it take everything it's doing? Does it take everything its info from emails, CRM and LinkedIn, so it can give me the info? What if it's the LinkedIn of multiple employees? How would it work? Yeah, so basically, what are this?
Yeah, you could. So we support like thousands of integrations. LinkedIn is one of them. We are deepening our LinkedIn integration. LinkedIn does not make it easy to integrate with them. But yeah, I mean, I can give an example right here of it's a Lindy that I created for. Got it. It's a Lindy that I created for a customer the other day that wants to reach out to influencers. And so you can see here, I was like, hey, find me 30 content creators from TikTok and Instagram. And she went on TikTok, she went on Instagram, she found a bunch of leads, and then she started drafting again a personalized email for each of these leads. I was giving a demo here, so I ended up not sending the email, but this is the idea. So yeah, we integrate with all of these sources, the agent is able to talk to each of these sources at scale for any number of leads you have.
Claudia is adding to Anna's points about emails. Not everyone is ready for meetings being recorded by AI. Conversations are being analyzed. Any thoughts on this?
You'd be surprised. I think in a year plus of recording all my conversations with Lindy, I think literally one time I've had someone say they were not comfortable with this. I think the attitudes are changing very rapidly with this because these recorders are everywhere now. If the person is not comfortable, then it's very easy to remove the recorder. It's 2 clicks.
How does Lindy? It's about Lindy. That's okay. How does Lindy adapt to my preferences and communication style over time? So many questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can give your preferences right here. You can give her memories. And so it's like, hey, I want you to write in the style of a pirate, for example. And then she would always write like this. You can also see that you can configure your agents so that they ask you for confirmation before performing actions. This is actually what I did here for this lead researcher. I just demoed at the beginning of the call. You can see here in the flow editor, this send email step. I toggled on the ask for confirmation toggle right here. Okay. And so when you do this, not only does Lindy ask for confirmation before performing the action, so you can see here, this is the email that she wrote, and I can edit the email, I can change it, but also she's going to learn from the changes that I make to her actions and get better and better continuously.
How does Lindy prioritize and manage multiple complex tasks simultaneously?
Each task is treated in isolation. Each task is an island. So like here, this task has no idea of this other task, has no idea of this other task, unless Lindy again saves the memory, in which case the memory is split across all the tasks. So again, to me, that's the beauty of AI agents is like the scale, they are infinitely scalable horizontally. How many tasks you give it does not matter. You can give it as many as you want.
What are unique, innovative use cases where Lindy has delivered unique value?
I think a lot of what I just showed, I'm not familiar with a lot of solutions out there in the market that do that. I think let me think of anything even more. I think pretty much everything that I showed them. I'd be curious to hear of other. I don't mean to sound cocky. People very often ask me who's your biggest competitor, and I'm like, I think it's just so early for AI agents. I actually, I mean, I know of like a few YC startups here and there, but like they don't seem nearly as mature as the product we have here. I think pretty much everything I just showed is quite differentiated.
What's an example of Lindy saving teams time and boosting productivity?
Yeah, I think the lead research is a huge one. I just can't believe humans are spending that much time doing lead research and lead outreach is another huge one. I think anything that's got to do with information retrieval, like the use case I just gave of hey, like going back to like a previous interview and asking follow-up questions. I mean, this is typically the sort of thing I would pass my executive assistant, and she would have spent probably 15 to 30 minutes, like rewatching the interview, taking notes, sending something to me. Right here, this is 30 minutes that I saved to a human. We're seeing a lot of time savings in email workflows. I mean, everybody spends so much time in their inbox and nobody likes it. And so email drafting, email triaging, or like two pretty big use cases. Like my entire inbox is triaged by Lindy, and I would say 45 minutes every single day, not having to, I just see the most important emails. Customer support is another huge one. So it's actually funny. It gets very meta. On Lindy in the app, you have this like question mark here to get help. And when you click on it, you see this, which is a Lindy. So you can build this kind of Lindy yourself and embed it on your website. And if they can not only provide help, so she ingests your knowledge base, you can answer any questions about your business and so forth. Not only can they do that, but they can also like book meetings with your leads. She can qualify your leads. She can redirect your leads and so forth. I'll give one last answer about like one big way we've saved times to people is we just released the ability for Lindy to make phone calls. So you can turn her into like a full-blown receptionist that receives phone calls, makes phone calls, and makes appointments when she receives phone calls. And that is one use case I'm particularly excited about because nothing really could until like this year, really. Like last year, there was no at-scale AI phone call automation system. And every minute that you spend doing a phone call is a minute that you save a human from doing a phone call. Those are the solution people then.
Super cool. So curious how you think about the ROI ultimately on Lindy here. Is it human replacement or is it just an assistant? What are your thoughts here?
It depends. As much as I'd like to say, oh, the talking point here for everybody is always, no, it's not replacement, it's augmentation. Of course, sometimes it's replacement. And so in the case of customer support, we have actually seen teams of dozens of reps be replaced by a Lindy. And so that does not mean that the team shrinks to zero, but it does mean that like the 10% of the team that you keep or dedicated to either managing the Lindies or to handling the most complex support scenarios. In the case of sales, the ROI is very straightforward. It's like you increase your win rate and you increase the number of leads that you book because you're reaching out to these leads at scale. And was there a second part to your question?
Yeah, that's the question. And on your product release, I'm curious what's on the roadmap for 2025 and what's up with cold calling? Is it even legal with AI?
Not necessarily. If you collect consent, well, yeah, pure cold calling for B2B SaaS with AI is illegal. We don't, we actually block your account from doing that. But if you collect consent from your leads, it is not illegal. And inbound calls are another pretty big use case. Many people just prefer to talk on the phone. The things on the roadmap. One of them is looping, so the ability for Lindy to in the same task ingest a lot of information and then be able to like loop through all of that information in parallel. I just demoed some things like this where this all happened across different tasks. But like I said, when it happens across different tasks, these tasks are isolated. The purpose of making them in the same task is that you would be able to, for example, build a research assistant, like a Lindy that would perform a lot of research tasks in parallel, and then be able to see all of the results of her research at the same time. That's one I'm quite excited about. Another one is computer use. So letting Lindy actually use a virtual computer in the cloud and like move the mouse and use the keyboard. And so that just unlocks the world. Like you now all of a sudden we don't need to build integrations anymore and Lindy can talk to any system, even the ones that require login, even your internal systems. That's going to be an absolute game changer. I would say those are the two biggest things I'm excited to see. Yeah.
People are asking about the pricing. How does that work?
The pricing is credits based. So it's similar to a human, like you pay a human per hour, right? And then every task takes a different amount of time. Here it's the exact same. Instead of paying per hour, we pay per credit. So you can see here, this cost me 1.7 credits. One credit is 1 cent. It's like an airline mile or like a credit card point, right? So this entire task here, like the searching the internet cost me 0.8 cents, and this drafting email cost me 1.7 cents. So this whole task cost me 2.5 cents. It's ridiculously cheap is the bottom line. It's the equivalent of a very qualified human costing you about $1 per hour.
And also, there are a lot of questions about HubSpot integration. I assume it just goes without saying, correct?
Yes, 100%. So you can see here we have thousands and thousands of integrations, and we roll out more and more integrations literally every week. And HubSpot is right here. We've also got Salesforce. Yeah.
Claudia is wondering if the cost that is associated is a barrier for small businesses. What are your thoughts here?
No, because it's pennies. If anything, small businesses are like our biggest target. No, it has the cost has never been a barrier. If you cannot realize an ROI with Lindy, which costs you pennies, you've got bigger problems.
Another question here. How can SDRs use Lindy to prioritize high intent leads more effectively?
That is another big use case of ours, which is lead qualification. You can very much create a Lindy which ingests these leads and then perform research about them, and then you give her like your criteria to qualify them. I have a slide right here about this. This is one of our top use cases. So you can plug Lindy to your type form, to a webhook, to your email, and then she will decide whether someone is qualified or not based on online research.
Anna is asking, can I have an example of your automate lead generation?
The one I just gave here is the right here. This Lindy that generates leads finds influencers on TikTok and Instagram. I know we're running out of time, so I'll see if I can do this very fast, but let me give you an example of something even more powerful. I have this lead generator. This one is good. And I will ask her, find me one designer working at Microsoft in Seattle. I don't know why you would want to hire a designer from Microsoft, but takes about a minute. The beauty of it is it takes the same time to find one lead as it does to find 1,000. Oh, she's putting them in the Google Sheets, actually. This is funny. Right here, she found this person. This is the LinkedIn link to the profile. And she even created this Google Sheets with the leads. Any last questions I can answer?
Super cool, Flo. Last question. Just share a customer story with us. Your favorite one.
My favorite one is I would say it's this influencer outreach thing here, because we have customers who use Lindy both to automate influencer outreach and customers who represent influencers, they're like influencer agencies, and they use Lindy to filter out like the outreach they receive and qualify only the top one. And so basically we're having Lindy's talk to each other. So it's not one use case, it's two use cases. And to me, that's just crazy. That's just amazing. It's like Lindy's selling and buying from each other. Yeah.
How long are we from this world when basically AI is selling to AI and AI is buying AI?
It's here. It's here. Like the quote, it's like the future is already here, it's just unevenly distributed. It's here. It's just unevenly distributed. The technology is here.
This is an amazing ending. Flo, where do our community go to support you? What are the next steps?
You go to lindy.ai, you can sign up, you can self-serve, or you can book a call with the team, and we calls with folks and help them get set up.
Amazing. Thank you so much. In closing, we want to thank again all of our partners and sponsors. Attention, they said, Common Room, Lindy, Fullcast, and Cloudlead. We will return for another AI summit on February 11th to 13th, and keep your eyes on Hardscale Exchange. And for those of you, we received a lot of messages about the recordings. People are just tuning in the end and in the middle of this event. The recordings are going to be up next week. So be sure to check the same landing page where you registered. And yeah, any closing thoughts, Justin Michael?
Phenomenal event. It was just great to do the tech stack stuff and to see all this AI that we predicted that we've been talking about for years just actually starting to happen here in the era of the AI agents. So we're going to be back with lots of AI goodness across the entire funnel. Super stoked on where this is all going, and it's a brave new world. So yeah, thank you all for being a part of it, and amazing job, everyone. And Julia, support all the speakers, and we'll see you in the community Slack. Thanks, everyone.